call.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hey, is this Ruben?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing the next 5 to 10 years?
Hey, man, we're getting ready to pick you right here, buddy.
Let's go, man.
Can't wait to get you here,
sir.
man. You're going to be a major part.
Yes, sir. You don't know how excited I am, man.
Well, congratulations, man. Excited to get to work with you. It's going to be a lot of fun, buddy.
Yes, sir, Coach. Appreciate you.
Listen here, the wait is over. Now it's time to get to work.
All the emotions on display last week as 257 players' lives were changed when they got the call that their NFL dreams were coming true. Incredible. Really fun draft, by the way. Mina Danfield with us for the hour. Mina, give us a team whose draft you loved last week.
I thought the Tampa Bay Buccaneers absolutely crushed it. Everybody knew they needed a pass rusher, but very few thought Reuben Bain Jr. would be there. And credit to Jason Light, their GM, for sitting and waiting, because I would have been itching to trade up as he started falling. He added a couple of impactful defensive pieces. Josiah Trotter, Keontae Scott out of Miami, who's a dog, who can also play the nickel and safety. And as a whole, I love this draft. I love what it does for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now.
Mina, one of the advantages for me of doing a big board is I can kind of quantify these things. There was only one NFL team that had 5 of my top 100 players on their roster by the end of the weekend. That was the Raiders, who actually had 6 of my top 109, if you include Trey Zoon, who went in the late 90s for them in the 3rd round. Defensively, I like some of the versatility they added. I also like the pure pass rush juice that Kieran Crawford offers. And, of course, Fernando Mendoza, the crown jewel of the 2026 NFL Draft.
Brace yourself. I'm going with the New York Jets. Pick number 2. They get, in many people's eyes, the best pass rusher, David Bailey. Then you go Kenyon Sadiq. I've continuously said, think Zach Ertz under Frank Reich, the play caller. Omar Cooper Jr., body catcher, yards after the catch, Jarvis Landry type of player. They got D'Angelo Pons. Everyone knows that I love really dynamic nickels. I think he can play inside right away for a defense that did not have any interceptions last year. I thought the Jets crushed it.
Let's go, Jets. I agree, right? There's no denying it. No matter how crazy sometimes it sounds to say the Jets crushed it. Maybe it's a turning of the tide.
Everyone is skeptical of it. So.
Well, that's how Jets fans have to be.
You tell a Jets fan that you like their draft, and their immediate response is like, just give it time. We'll screw it up.
Wait.
Like, no, you're not.
We're trying to figure out what we screwed up. We're with you for the hour. Adam Schefter is here, too. There's a lot of news, and Adam was in Pittsburgh for all the action. Joins us now for some of the top stories from draft weekend. Adam, give us some of the stories that helped define the draft. Let's start in Kansas City.
The Chiefs made a statement that they were looking to improve their defense. Their first 4 draft picks were all defensive players, including first-round draft pick Mansour Delane. They followed that up right after by going with Peter Woods, the defensive tackle from Clemson, R. Mason Thomas, the edge from Oklahoma, and Jadon Kennedy, the defensive back from Oregon. They know that their offense can hold its own. The Chiefs went to upgrade their defense, and it looks like they did just that. Meanwhile, the Giants upgraded both line positions. They got arguably the top 2 linemen on each side of the ball. Arvell Reese was the number 5 overall selection. Francis Mauigoa was the 10th overall selection. And John Harbaugh knows that games are won in the trenches, and that's where the Giants use their early draft resources. Meanwhile, the Eagles traded up to take USC wide receiver Makai Lemon. The last time the Eagles and Cowboys made a trade like this, swapping draft positions, the Eagles came away with Devontae Smith. The Eagles are hoping that Makai Lemon can now complement Devontae Smith and obviously help make up for the expected absence of A.J. Brown, who still is expected to be dealt on or after June 1st to the New England Patriots.
Adam's with us for the entire show. A lot more to get to, and we will. Mina, the Eagles land Lemon and Vanderbilt tight end Eli Stowers. If A.J. Brown is, in fact, traded away by the start of the season, just how different do you expect this offense to look in Philly?
Very different. I think the Lemon selection in particular adds to this sense that the Eagles offense is really going to undergo an evolution under the new offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion. Starting with the player, Lemon, physical, gritty, primarily in the slot, but I think you can align him in the backfield. He does his best work over the middle of the field, which we all know has not been a focal point of this offense and this quarterback, but it's so easy to look at this group of receivers now with Devontae primarily playing on the outside, Stowers as more of like a big slot type of a tight end, And to think about, okay, what might this look like? How could it look a little bit more like Green Bay? Spread the ball around, under center, condensed formations. Can they improve the run game in that regard? They added a blocking tight end too. The question for me is not whether the offense is evolving. I think we all see it's going to. It's whether the quarterback is going to be on board with that, Dan, because, you know, this has not been who Jalen Hurts has been in the NFL. It's not been the kind of offense they've run with him. And for it to succeed, he needs to be on board and executing it the way that we've seen it work out so well in other places.
Yeah, it's the dawn of a new era offensively in Philadelphia. I mean, Jalen Hurts will have no choice but to throw the ball over the middle field and get comfortable doing it. I think not only the Makai Lemon selection, but to your point, Stowers indicates that. Sean Mannion, play call. I mean, if we look at Jalen Hurts over the past couple years, he's the least thrower of the football over the middle of the field. 38% of his passes go over the middle of the field. The next closest is Bryce Young, and he's 6% higher. So I love the selections. I do. I think the players are really nice players. Makai Lemon, huge fan. Stowers, love him. The ex-quarterback element. I do find it very interesting that in Philadelphia, they hire an offensive coordinator that, to its core, the three things that he does are the things that the quarterback doesn't do or do well. And their first two selections are guys that wear out the area of the field that he just doesn't distribute the ball to. It's a new era, and I think his hand is going to be forced getting comfortable with it.
Really fast, how hard is it going to be to teach Jalen Hurts these things? Like, do you think he's capable of making these changes as quickly as
I think he's capable of doing it. It is up to be determined if he's capable of doing it consistently. I think it's a difficult thing to get comfortable with because you have to be willing to throw the ball blind where you don't see, and he's not really done that a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it was scheme or if it was just the players the Eagles had. I tend to think it was scheme, but this team had the second fewest yards after the catch last season. The first two guys they pick, Makai Lemon and then Eli Stowers, both excellent in that regard for their respective positions. I liked the draft, just looking at the players the Eagles acquired. When you factor in the trade for Jonathan Greenard, I love the draft for the Philadelphia Eagles. He wasn't the same player last year as he was in seasons prior for Minnesota, but to get him for the cost of 2 third-round picks and then a very reasonable $25 million per year over 4 years extension, this guy can give Philadelphia something they didn't have as much of last year. Josh Sweat goes to Arizona. They didn't have that veteran edge rush you could count on quite as much as I think they will in Greenard.
Yeah, and the other point with Jalen Hurts and throwing the ball in the middle of the field, risk. He's a risk-averse quarterback.
Right. Sure.
Quarterbacks that are comfortable throwing the ball to the perimeter, one of the reasons is because there's a more variance to miss. If I miss high, it goes out of bounds. If I miss low, I'm going to ground it in the dirt. Quarterbacks who are comfortable throwing in the middle of the field, they're a little bit more in control of the football, also a little bit more risky because if I throw high, it's a pick. If I throw low, it's a pick.
Yeah. You know, when you say that, Dan, it makes me think, too, like Lemon is, I don't want to say he's like training wheels for throwing over the middle of the field, but he is the type of receiver where you know if you can just get it in his general vicinity, he is going to come down with the football. He's undersized, but he fights for every ball like it's his last. So when you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who, to your point, as you guys have been discussing, doesn't like to throw over the middle, is wary of throwing picks, is not that tall, right? So he's not seeing it that well. Knowing that Lemon is going to be a reliable target for him in that part of the field is very important.
Yeah, and remember, too, I mean, the Steelers wanted Lemon, then Philadelphia
wild
and
was
gets him. It was absolutely crazy, but you think about just how specifically they wanted a player like this, it makes sense. And this is not something the Eagles have done in a while. It's the first time they've used each of their first 2 picks on pass catchers since 1982. That's a long time ago. All right, big night across the line of scrimmage for the New York Giants, drafting Arvell Reese to play edge on defense and Francis Maui-Noah to hold down the left tackle spot on the O-line. I talked with Maui Noah just moments after his big moment, and he had a strong message for his new QB, Jackson Dart.
I'll die about this, man. Man, I'm ready to die for you, man. I know a lot of things has happened, bro, but I'm ready to die for you, bro.
So I asked him, like, what was his message for Jackson Dart, and that's what he said. Also, just a little peek behind the curtain, the voices are booming in there. It was really loud. I didn't know he said a bad word until later. I'm like, oh, I guess we're bleeping that out. All right. I had no idea what's going on.
I would love to know if him and Jackson Dart have connected.
We'll find that out. That's a good question.
I would hope so, right?
Let's ask,
We'll
ask Jordan Renan, our Giants reporter. Okay, Dan, how much, though, do you think that Dart will like hearing that type of ferocity from his new lineman?
Love. Absolutely love, not only because he's a quarterback, but just his personality. I think, one, this is the most talented offensive line the Giants have had in a decade, honestly. This has the chance to be a above average to good offensive line. New York, you haven't had that in forever. I really, to my core, believe that this draft in many ways will hinge on Makai Fields, the third round receiver. I think this offensive line is going to be good. Maui Noah can play all over the place. I was adamant, could go get a second-round receiver. You would know better than me about Makai Fields, but I know he's long, he's athletic, he tested very well, he can go down the field and make plays. They are going to need that. For this offense to really go in the next 2 years somewhere, they're going to need that.
I think you can think of Makai Fields like a Cortland Sutton type. The straight line speed
that
is not going to blow you away, but the contested catch stuff is really good. No drops this past season. Maybe it's easy because they picked 2 players in the first 10 selections, but I loved what the Giants did in the first round, especially considering the value. I had Arvell Reese graded higher than the 5th overall pick in the draft. I have CeCe Maui Noah graded higher than the 10th overall pick in the draft. And it gives you both a short and long-term plan for each of those players because the Giants don't need Arvell Reese to be a dominant pass rusher right out of the gates. They have Brian Burns, of course, Abdul Carter, and also, at least for now, Kayvon Thibodeau. Sounds like he's going to be there for the end or for the rest of this season as well. Same thing with CeCe Maui Noah. Can he be a guard right away? Maybe he has to because of the way their offensive line is configured. But this team can also have a plan to move him back to his natural spot at right tackle at some point in the future. The biggest question mark for CeCe Maui Noah was he did have this back issue that teams were made aware of during the pre-draft process. Obviously, the Giants and others were very comfortable with it, given the fact they took him number 10 overall. But he was the steadiest player, start to finish, of any prospect in the entire class.
You mentioned that Arvell Reese doesn't necessarily have to play right away or at least be a regular heavy contributor right away. Mina, when you think about that, how do you think they should use Reese? He's a guy that some people wondered how they'll develop him, but you've always been high on his skill set.
Yeah, I mean, I loved this pick for them. So primarily he's going to play linebacker. And as I said, the day after they drafted him, he is a very good linebacker. He is extremely good against the run. He's an exceptional tackler. And I think will be contributing to what was a very bad run defense last year immediately next to Tremaine Edmonds. But I also want you to picture this. Say it's third down. You got Abdul Carter and Brian Burns, maybe even Kayvon Thibodeau finds a way on the field. And Arvell Reese is walked up over the A-gap. If you're the offense, you don't know if he's dropping into coverage, if he's maybe spying your quarterback, if you've got a mobile quarterback, or if he's coming as a pass rusher, but you have to prepare for that possibility. That mental stress that New York can place on offenses is exactly the kind of mental stress that John Harbaugh and Gary Wilson, their defensive coordinator, used to do in Baltimore with Roquan and Kyle Hamilton. So I just feel like he immediately gets as a contributor to the pass rush, even if he is still developing as a pass rusher who ultimately may end up playing on the edge down the road.
And Cal, I ask you this. Is he good enough against the run on early downs to get to that? This was a historically bad run defense who lost Dexter Lawrence.
Dude, he is such a good tackler. I think because everyone was thinking about him versus David Bailey, we were so locked in on what is he as a pass rusher that got a little bit lost in the conversation. He is exceptional against the run. Field knows this too. He sets a hard edge. He is powerful. He has the frame. And as a linebacker, he will be very helpful in that regard.
I feel like there's a little motivation too. I mean, he didn't drop, right? But he did go maybe a little later than some people had, or at least a couple picks later. Maybe that motivates him a little bit more.
We saw him in the green room. What on earth? Where does Ohio State find these guys?
I don't know.
Him and Sonny Styles.
Absolute rock.
You have muscles I don't even think are in my body.
I think they come to Connecticut.
That's pretty much true.
You can relate?
Greek
okay.
gods. Jeez.
Dan's like, that's where I came from. All right, new on NFL Live. Adam back with us. We have some news out of New England. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, Laura, we all know that Mike Vrabel took some time away from the draft on day 3 to go be with his family, but he was back in the Patriots training facility today, back at work after a weekend trip to Salt Lake City to Utah to go spend time with his family. Now back at work, not a long trip, a couple of days, and Vrabel now back in the building with his former team.
All right, we got more coming your way here on NFL Live. Don't go anywhere. Lots still to get to. Just reflecting on the draft.